Alright, I'm in the projection booth and I'm super early for work. I watched a screening and I was like, you know what? I got busy work to do, but I can double team this shit and do a video while doing my busy work. So I'm going to explain to you my thoughts on Transformers Beast War, Beastmania, something like that, while inventorying old movie posters that came over from our Wayne Theater, so I can start to create an inventory and get the booth at this location a little bit cleaned up. So join me, will you? It's not a big secret that I'm not a huge fan of the Transformers series in general. Everyone tends to say like, oh, okay, well the first one wasn't bad, I don't know, it just didn't do anything for me. And then I worked on part 2 for a short period of time with Heery Casting in Philadelphia when they shot all the scenes with Shia LaBeouf and Rainn Wilson. Plus, that movie was made during the writer's strike, so there was like, it was just make shit up as you go. I know I saw the third one. I think then 4 on is when Marky Mark came into it, which is funny because this movie also talks about Mark Wahlberg, which I know is an in-joke for the series, but it's also the second movie that I've seen this week that has Mark Wahlberg talk in it, because Fast 10 had it as well. I don't know, they all just kind of seem exactly the same to me, until you get to Bumblebee, which I actually enjoyed. Bumblebee felt like it had the girl from Hawkeye in it, and it felt like a little E.T., like a Flight of the Navigator, Mac and Me, any of those movies where it's like, with the Stranger Things vibe to it, because that was popular at the time. I thought that was fun. It was the first time where the Transformers looked like the fucking toys. So I had hope when I heard about this Beastmaster one that they would continue that trend. And I knew it was set in 1994, and boy, does this movie take every opportunity it can to remind you it's 1994. It's like, hey, do you like Power Rangers? Hey, do you like the Wu-Tang Clan? Hey, do you know about Super Mario Brothers? Or hey, Pulp Fiction? And just like all these surface level references are like super cringe, and I know it's cringe for me to say cringe. Bear with me one second. It's this one has a 20-minute opening of the history of the Beast Masters or the Beast Warriors. Ron Perlman is Optimus Prime Evil, which when I heard that for the first time, I laughed my fucking ass off. I didn't realize that's the character's name because I had never seen Beast Wars. And then there's like a puma, or like a cheetah, a rhino, and a bird, and they're fighting a guy called Scar, whose face kind of looks like the Witch King from Lord of the Rings, and he's basically going around as almost like the Herald of Galactus, basically, where Unicron's going to show up and eat a planet, so they go down and they do recon first to see what resources it has. Unicron looked really cool. I never saw the last night one, the Transformers one, although I do remember when it was in theaters, it kept changing aspect ratio, and nobody from the studio told us, so we had no idea what to do with our masking, and masking is like when the curtains go up or out, when you go to a theater, and not like our masking even fucking worked, so it didn't matter anyway. Somebody said Unicron was part of the last night one. I didn't see it. All I knew about that was they said that a Transformer that turned into a wristwatch killed Hitler, which I was like, whew, that's offensive. Although in this one they're like, oh, like Beast guys, Beast bots, did you guys create like the Nazca lines? And they're like, no, that was people. It's my favorite thing. It's like, just because white people didn't do it didn't mean aliens did it. So they're trying to get like the MacGuffin key from Unicron getting it. So Ron Perlman, Monkey's like boss, gets killed, and they send the key off in a scene that's very reminiscent of young Kal-El leaving Krypton in Man of Steel. There's a lot of shots that are just like, copy-pasted. and then we get to our human characters. Now, okay, so the robots are back to looking Michael Bay-ish, which sucks, because again, it's just the beginning of this movie becoming like ones and zero porn, like visual diarrhea after a while. And granted, what are you fucking asking from a Transformers movie? But the last one felt like a real movie, you know, with stakes. We meet our main character in 1994, and the movie has a good soundtrack. That kind of Afrobeat 90s kind of stuff that came out in New York is very big in it. You know, it ends with Biggie Smalls. It's got some good stuff in it. A lot of the action beats, because of like Fast and the Furious and Guardians of the Galaxy, everything's very staged similarly, and I mean, it's always been the case, and I've always noticed it. But just watching other movies recently, I've just been like, wow, like everybody's just copying the same shit. We have our main character who we learn everything we need to know about our characters in the first like minute that they're on screen. So it goes, you failed out of the military because you're not good at working with a team, and your brother has sickle cell anemia, and your mom is behind on the rent, and and then the girl who's working at the art museum, who's an intern but knows everything about antiquity, like the government comes to her to see if something is a fake, but yeah, she's an intern and her boss with frizzy hair can talk shit to her. Okay. So he goes to a job interview, and the guy's like, hey, we don't need your kind here. And I thought that was like a race thing, but it turns out that he like was a coward in the military. So he's like, I'll show you. So his friend, who he like rebuilds electronics for, is like, yo, we're gonna steal this car tonight. Just so happens to be at the art museum, where this weird Maltese Falcon with symbols on it that don't appear on Earth are, and then there's a car that has a Transformers logo on it. That's weird. Okay, here we are. And then he tries to steal the car, but the car steals him. Mirage is the car. It's voiced by Pete Davidson. Again, third movie with Pete Davidson in it. He does a voice. He does a voice in Guardians. He's in Fast 10, and now he's the voice in this one. And he's annoying as fuck. RC is in it. She looked fine, but it didn't look like her CGI was done all the way. Optimus Prime is back to the weird, where the plate thing comes off and he has a weird underbite, which I don't like. They at least took the flames off the front of the car with the Michael Bay-ishness. Yeah, you're like asking, where are the beast monsters robots? Where are they? So a laser shoots into the sky, because that's a thing that we're doing again, like Suicide Squad and every other fucking movie for 20 years. Laser shoots in the sky, but people can't see it. Only Transformers can see it. So, because the dude who ran away from the military saw that they're Transformers, they bring him with him to Peru, but then the girl who discovered the Maltese Falcon thing, they take her too, and her dad was a cab driver, but he's dead, and he would be proud of her because he's the smartest guy that she knew, and you just gotta try things. And then the Transformers show up at ran away from the military guy's house, and like, it's a giant talking robot in the middle of fucking Queens, but nobody sees it but the little brother with sickle cell. Sure. It's like at the end of the beginning of the second one, they're like, oh yeah, no, this is a gas leak. It wasn't giant robots fucking punching each other in the mush in San Francisco. So they go to Peru, and now we're like an hour into the movie, and we meet the bird talks to them and tells them where they have to go, the robot bird from the beginning. And then over an hour in, they meet Ron Perlman, who's like Apimus Prime or something like that. And he's got the other robots, and they have to fight back because Optimus Prime and whoever the other ones are. I know Mirage, I know RC. There's like a car that's a Jeep, but it has a like South American accent. And they talk about how that's racist, but then they're like, it can't be racist because it's a robot. I guess trying to unring that bell from part 2 with skids and mud flap. And then there's like an airplane that, when it transforms, it's like an old-timey like flight pilot with like the hat with the thing with the goggles, you know. And yeah, so Optimus Prime and his crew get housed by like these ancient, better Transformers led by Witch King guy Scar. And then, you know, Chimpanzoid shows up, and he's all like, I don't think so. So they fucking fight. But Optimus Prime, this entire movie, is just a whiny little bitch. And he's like, it's my fault. Everybody got in trouble, and we're stuck here on Earth. And all he does is complains with his underbite the entire fucking movie. But then his story is running parallel to the main guy's story, because he left the military because he had family stuff he had to do. And he feels like it's his responsibility to take care of his brother. So they're very parallel in that. And they make every chance they can to remind you of that, because every line of dialogue in this fucking movie is just expository dialogue to move the plot along, where people are just saying what they're doing, and it's like, you know, crankshaft, I've kicked open the door. Yeah, we saw. Film is a visual medium. It gets to be, like, nauseating sometimes, some of the fight scenes, because you're looking at CGI. People put tons of work into that. I'm not going to deny it. But, like, the casual destruction that these good guy robots do, like, and everybody was mad about Man of Steel, where two gods are fighting each other. Like, these guys are stuck on Earth, Optimus Prime, and you're like, okay, we have to protect these fucking cats because we're stuck here. But they're just blowing up cars and fields and people's, like, livestock in this movie. Like, it's nothing. And then he's like, oh, I'm so sad. Yeah, so's the fucking dude who had his car and his farm destroyed, you fucking asshole. So the kid, Pete Davidson bot throws the kid a fucking, like, a gauntlet for his hand. Sort of looks like the thing from the very end of Predators, where they send, like, the Predator suit. 'Cause everything in this movie is, like, it's either the third act straight up rips off Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's like a ton of Iron Man shit in there. There's a ton of, like, video, like, everything looks like a video game. It looks like the cinematics of an ad for a video game. And everything's just, like, just taken from someplace else. And again, they learned nothing from Bumblebee, where they told an actual story about characters you give a shit about. In this one, they try to tug at our heartstrings by having Bumblebee get, like killed but not killed, because all they need is, like, this special power to bring him back, and the land in Peru is, like, coursing with it, sort of like Wakanda, and they make it that also very clear. So they're just carrying around dead Bumblebee, who's back to being a Camaro. I think it was a Camaro or a Mustang, one of those two things. I don't know anything about cars. So he's like, yo, don't destroy the fucking MacGuffin, because then we can never go back to Cyber Kingdom. Cybertron, it's called. And then he's like, yeah, but if the other dude gets it, then Unicron's going to show up and fucking eat us to death. So it's quite the predicament. So they fight and they fight and they fight, and like the robot animal ones stop being robot animals and turn into just robots, which would be far more advantageous. There's a bunch of fights. Homeboy is inside, like, an Iron Man suit made of what's his name, Mirage, and it looks like the ones from the first G.I. Joe movie, which will come in later. And then they're like, yo, like, the portal's opening and shit's coming through. What are we gonna do? And Optimus Prime's like, I'll sacrifice myself for the greater good, because we all have to live together. And then the other guy's like, nope, I'm not gonna let you do it, because we're nothing if we don't work together. So everyone learned a lesson. And then the ape one shows up too, but wouldn't it have made a lot more sense if, like, Optimus Prime and, like, Ron Perlman Prime didn't get along the entire movie and don't believe in the different, you know, the old ways and the new ways, because they're like the old Transformers, and then there's, like, the new Transformers, which is, like, Optimus Prime and Pete Davidson and what's his fucking face, Bumblebee, because they know all the pop culture references from 1994. So midway into the movie, because I was at a exhibitor screening, a dude sitting across from me was, like, dead asleep and snoring like a motherfucker, and I laughed hysterically, and the people from the studio turned and gave me a dirty look. But it was funny. It was a perfect visual for that moment. This movie with all these fucking special effects and everything, and it's so uninteresting because the you know, in a Fast and the Furious type way, we've bent time and space and logic to the point where nothing matters anymore. So they close the doodad, you know, not Orson Welles doesn't get through. Isn't that weird? Orson Welles' final role, one of the greatest American filmmakers of all time, was as a giant cartoon planet in the '86 Transformers animated movie. So they all say, "Hey, we gotta live together," and then Bumblebee comes back from the dead, and Pete Davidson comes back from the dead. And then the kid who was in Pete Davidson goes for a job interview, and while he's at the job interview, you know, because they told him, oh, it's this little shitty place, and the dude who's also in Man of Steel, who played like one of the reporters, he was also in a really, really good movie called Lars and the Real Girl, playing Ryan Gosling's brother, and he's in Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead as well. There you go. It all comes full circle. He's like, yeah, I know all about you, and we know about the Transformers, and if you ever want a job, give me a call. And like, he gives him a card, and it's G.I. Joe. So it ends with setting up G.I. Joe versus Transformers, because they're both owned by Hasbro, and why have they not done that 20 fucking years ago, you would think. So this movie was dumb, and more so, it was boring. Like, again, when you have, you know, cheetah robots fighting, like, robots with, like, you know, spinning blades for hands, you would think that would be exciting. But because CGI is so unexciting anymore, because there's no story or weight behind it, nothing fucking matters anymore. You know, it's like the Jurassic Park movies after... Well, the second one had some good stuff in it, up until they get to San Diego. But it's just like, when if you don't have a story and there's no weight, then there's no consequences, then there's no fucking reason to care. And then again, it's just all you see is like Neo. You see the ones and the zeros bouncing off each other on screen. So I don't know. I'm not a Transformers guy to start with, but I just think that I don't know. It just felt like a major step back from the last one. You know, little things, like making them look like the fucking toys goes a mile in my book, but they couldn't even do that. Other than RC, but again, she didn't quite look like she was there. Like, the effect didn't look all the way finished. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. I got 13 tubes already done, and I've got bags and bags more of movie posters to do, but I got into the conversation, and I also realized when I'm under the light, I look extra horrible, so sorry. That's it. Transformers, Beast of the Southern Wild, I don't know what it's called. You'd think if you're going to have a movie about, like, monkey robots, like, they would show up and be part of the story. Once they get there, they're just there periodically, and then they're gone, and most of the story is just, you know, fucking Pete Davidson. I don't know. Nukebots, roll out.